Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining us tonight. We got somebody special in here tonight. Danny Adams from the Best Hat Store is with us tonight, and he's going to answer all your questions. And we're going to talk hats and maybe boots and whatever else
whatever you want to talk about. We're here.
Come up with. Hey, first of all, I want to thank American Hat Company and Joby's Hats, two of the biggest supporters of the channel and what we do. Without them, we wouldn't be doing this, and we just really appreciate all of their support. Conor, that's you.
And without either one of those companies, I would not have a job.
Yeah, it's good.
It's kind of the spiel he makes me do every time. Well, he doesn't make me do it. But.
No, but it's become a habit. So, Danny, how long have you been at Best Hat?
I've been there 11 years this last weekend.
11 years. And you have not done a hat for me yet. You did this hat for my wife.
Right.
Ben, has it been a year?
Yes.
Year and a half or something like that. Yeah. So she has a new hat.
I thought it was like 6 months ago.
Right?
Yeah.
No, it's about it's a little over a year. That's her hat from last year. She's got a natural this year
right.
that's still unshaped and we got to get done. But I got a black 40X that I need done too. So we might.
Yeah, we can do it.
Because I need a hat from you.
You got a steamer here.
I do. And Conor has talked about this. We thought about sitting at the hat bar, kind of having a drink, doing a video, and we thought about having Conor shape it while I did an interview, but it would be interesting. We could just sit down and have a drink and kind of do a one-on-one and have you shape it here.
I'm not opposed to having a drink and shaping a hat.
Who would be, man?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, something to think about. Let's explore that a little later.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be something else to come. I'm pretty excited about the new hat. This one too, we did this hat at the factory. Julie Dawson shaped this one up for me.
Yeah.
And, she did a great job.
Great job.
Yeah. Yeah. She
shaped a lot of hats.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. Her and Conor and Cody, they've all shaped a ton of hats. Speaking of that, how many hats do you shape normally? Like just
I get asked that question quite often.
Yeah.
I really have no clue.
Don't keep track.
I just don't keep track.
Yeah.
I don't know how many since I started with Best Hat or how many I've shaped since I started shaping hats. Like I don't know. No clue.
Well, Conor's got the ADHD, so he's always counting, right? So he's 1 hat, 2 hat, 3 hat, right?
Right.
Well, 10 years of production where you have to keep track of what you do.
Yeah, is that a thing? Do you guys?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we kept production numbers. Absolutely. They want to know how many we did. No, you just count how many you shape on a rack and push it over, and all day long is count how many you did. Keep up with production. You know what your goal is, and you know where you're at.
That's interesting. I never thought about that aspect of it.
Well, that's just a production thing. Any sort of production line, you want to know roughly where everyone's at, how everyone's doing, what performance is.
Yeah. So when you guys don't do any pre-shaped hats at Best Hat, it's all open.
We do. We carry a few.
Really?
In the straws and the ranchers.
Okay.
Yeah, and the pre-creased, but not a great deal. But we keep some. Yeah.
And well, I mean that kind of makes sense because if you got a big line and people just want to come in, grab a hat, and get out,
it's
they
easy.
Can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that mostly straw?
Mostly, that's about all we carry that in is straws.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't carry any pre-creased felt hats.
Well, and that's interesting because it's completely the opposite up north. We see a lot of people in the group, and actually even here too. If you don't have a good hat shaper on premises, they'll order a bunch of pre-creased.
Right.
And I just saw one in the group yesterday or the day before. They had a lot of 200X pre-creased, and there's another place in Tennessee. They've got 1000X pre-creased.
Oh yeah,
really.
Yeah.
There's an insane amount of people ordering the RC in the felts all the way up the quality range.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good that we have that. The American didn't have that for quite some time.
Really?
That's a good thing to have for sure.
That was probably 2016, 17 when that kind of came to be, somewhere in there maybe, I think. If I remember
maybe.
correctly.
Oh, the pre-creased.
Maybe late.
The RC shape at least,
Okay.
the rancher.
Yeah.
Before it was usually either the L Stockman, the
Yeah, and
Cowboy.
it didn't really have a brim shape on it. It was just
those were
just a
kinda,
pre-creased crown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, what I like about the American is you see a lot of these box hats, the pre-creased box hats, and they are almost just a fold up the sides and that's it. There's no, you know, kind of lines to the sides. There's no, to the brim. Yeah, it's just kind of ugly. I'm not going to name any names, but you know, it's all of those big boxed hats where you can go out and get them for $350.
Yeah.
And there's just no structure. Or
That's
no,
just, you know, like me growing up, you know, here in Fort Worth, and like when I was a kid, my dad did not buy us pre-creased hats.
Really?
Everything's always been open crown, you know, and that's probably why I took a love to shaving hats,
Right.
you know, and it's just always been that way around here.
yeah. And that's interesting because, you know, I've seen little children get pre-creased hats. You know, they'll get cheap wool hats,
Mhm.
and they'll get them shaped up, and I think that's really cool. You know, my first real hat. You know, I had hats as a child, but my first real hat was in the 1990s, and it was a Bailey.
Yeah.
And it was a pre-creased, you know, but it was a really decent hat at the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't have access, you know, to a good shaper
Right.
and I didn't even know anything about shaping. You know,
Sure.
you see they had a steamer and they had somebody over there. I'm like, what's all that? So, you know, kind of teaching people who are not in Texas that there's a different way to do this
That's right.
is kind of high on my priority list.
Yeah, and to me, it's, you know, like what I tell people when they'll come into our hat store and like, what is all these round hats? Is that,
Yes.
what is that? And you know, we got to go through the whole deal, and you know, sometimes we might play you a little bit, you know. That's a new style that we're hoping is going to take off. You know, we're really invested into that.
Yes.
You know, and laugh and chuckle about it, and then, you know, take them through the whole spiel, and you know, it's a good thing. But you know, like I tell them, you know, when you get a hat that's hand shaped from open and flat, that's a hat that you own, not a hat that you bought.
That's right.
You
That's
know,
right.
it's made for you.
It's your style. And
Yeah.
you know, Joby was in here a year ago, and he would look at my hat rack, which is not up yet. I don't have any hat racks up yet, but if I have 2 hat racks with, you know, 6 apiece, and straws on one side and felts on the other, and almost every one of them is identical, at least the brim, right?
Sure.
So, you know, I finally found what I like, and I don't stray from it very often. I
Right.
do have. We talked about my straw earlier, that it was something different last year because it was posted on Best Hat, and I thought,
Right.
man, that's a cool looking hat. And it's pretty close to what
Pretty
you're
close
wearing.
to what I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, the hat store did that for me, and that was, you know, kind of a departure from my normal. And most generally, though, I wear, you know, kind of what I'm wearing right now. Connor, we kind of go back and forth on what this is. It's a J brim, or it's a JB brim. What do you think of this?
You know, it was a weird deal too when I started at Best Hat. You know, I've shaped hats for 30 years, and since 1994, and the only thing that ever had a name, you know, was a crown,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
right? And brim shapes didn't have a name.
Yeah.
You know, they just kind of you know, do it like this, or you know, shave it to their face, or
Absolutely.
whatever, you know. And so, you know, that was a new thing to me, even coming there, you know, in 2013, that, you know, these names for brim shapes, you know, which I get, you know, especially selling online and over the phone, it makes it a lot easier, you know. And I think they're just mainly for reference, you know.
Yes.
It's nothing that's like set in stone. Like, this is what a JB needs to be, or a J, you know. You can have a J with higher sides, or a JB with, you know, a little lower or higher, or however you want to do it, you know.
Right.
Yes.
And so it's all for reference. But looking at your hat, I would, you know, I'd say play in between a JB. You know, it's depends on who's shaping it, right?
Right.
Because one guy might make that hat just a tick narrower, and the other one might make it just a tick wider, just because everybody just does. Everybody's shapes different.
Absolutely.
And
so I know where Conor works, they have a strict. We do it all like this, right? And at the factory, everything had to be like this. It had to be, the J was what 6 inches wide.
Yeah.
And so, how about best hat? Do you have kind of a standard if you do an online hat?
Not really. We like it. We have a drop, on our online deal that kind of says it gives the hat shaper kind of a range there. Like a J. I think we have like between 6 and 7 inches, and then a JB is going to be between 7 and 8. And then a CHL wider than that.
Okay.
So it's just kind of leave a little. I don't know, like just sitting there and taking a tape measure and trying to measure, brim size and width, and it's all going to be pretty close to the same,
right? And so all of the really good hat shapers who have been doing this for a long time, they don't need a tape measure they say, all right, 6 inches. Boom, it's 6 inches.
Yeah, it is going to be pretty dang close.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, that's why it might be off a, eighth of or quarter of an inch or something, but it's going to be pretty close. Absolutely. It's not like we're building a church, so it's going to be pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, yeah. So it works. And I mean, I think that's something to shaping a hat too is, they should all be different.
Yeah.
Like even my hats that I shape, every one of them the same. They're really not.
Yeah.
Every one of them is going to be a little different because it's all done by hand.
Well,
so there's no way you can repeat that every time.
That's the whole point of hand shaped. You're not a machine. You're not looking for uniformity.
Right.
I mean,
and that's the thing. My brim shape, it looks like this in general, but it's going to vary 7 to 8 inches, right? Somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
You're not going to be identical. If you want identical, you're going to have to get that pressed hat.
Yeah,
right?
get a pressed hat. Yeah, and then you're probably not going to be very happy with it.
No, not at all. Not at all. So Vegas is coming up.
Yep.
And you're leaving Black Friday.
Yeah, day after NFR, we start driving to Vegas.
So that leaves, what, a week before you get there and actually Cowboy Christmas starts? Something like that? A week and a week?
Yeah, kind of close to that. Yeah, we'll get to Vegas Saturday evening.
Mm-hmm.
And then start setting up Sunday.
Okay.
And then the show will start on Thursday.
Okay. All right. So it's a little less than a week then, I guess.
Yeah. You got travel time,
right.
Day and a half to get there or whatever. So.
Right. So how is that? How many years have you gone to Vegas now?
This will be my 11th or 12th year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And how many guys is Best sending?
We'll send 3.
3.
So me and then Jace and Jesse will come.
I've seen pictures and video from Vegas from years past, and it looks insane.
It is insane.
Pictures and videos don't do it justice.
No.
So 3 guys for
no, we have 6 hat shapers, so we'll have
okay.
3 more that we contract out.
Okay.
That come every year. So there'll be 6 hat shapers, and with 6 hat shapers now, and it's I probably shouldn't say it on our podcast because then they might not come to our booths, but it's a 3-hour wait.
Yes.
To get your hat shaped.
Yeah. Unless maybe
on the weekends,
the vice president.
like on the weekdays, but on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's going to be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen the line, and American will support you guys at NFR, right?
Right.
They come in, they help.
They help. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's cool. And they there's a lot of kind of talk about American and Best Hat. They are separate entities, and
Totally separate businesses.
American does that for other businesses as well.
That's right.
They do that for NRS when they go to the
high school finals.
Run for $1 million.
They're going to be there with Cavenders at the WCRA finals in Amarillo. So they try to help out everybody.
Right. So, I know, and I only know this because we hear everybody complain, who isn't in this large scale that, Best Hat is getting preferential treatment, which is not absolutely the case because, it's the high volume stores who have created this relationship over years, right?
Right.
The people who were buying $1 million worth of hats 10 years ago, not just trying to buy them, last month.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't know, it's a touchy deal.
Yeah.
But I think American wants everybody to succeed for sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
The more people you can get in hats, the better for everybody.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we see a lot of people, and that's kind of our core business is new hat wearers and people who want to shape hats.
Right.
Right. So the new hat shapers, and we see, over the last 3 years, it's just been a huge boom.
Sure.
Oh,
it's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the hat industry, and I'd say, you might have seen it over the last 3 years. I've been watching it grow tremendously over the last 9 years.
Right.
It's continuously grown and grown and grown.
Mm-hmm.
When I started at Best Hat Store, there was 2 of us.
Really?
And for a while, and then we hired one more guy, and then we hired another one, and now we have 8, 9 full-time employees there at Best Hat all the time, and it's changed a whole lot.
So how does that look? Somebody coming into Best and wanting a job, right? So what kind of qualifications do you guys need for something like that, and what kind of experience?
I don't think that it's necessarily having experience. We can teach somebody what we want them to do.
Really?
Whether it's shaping a hat or selling a hat, or we can teach that.
That's really cool.
We can all teach someone to shape a hat.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody there is real knowledgeable. They can teach someone how to do it. But the hard part is that once you get to Best Hat Store, you're not leaving. So there's no turnaround there, right?
Right.
So I have 6 full-time hat shapers. So it's kind of hard to, there's no need yet for a 7th.
Right.
So but hopefully one day,
What would that look like? Would your sales have to increase? Would you have to?
No, I'm not real sure.
Yeah.
I think that all goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
We've never not hired anybody and not have an increase in sales. So I think that all helps.
Okay.
But it's just, our building's only so big.
Yes. Yes.
And there's only so much room for so many hat shapers.
Well, you guys have a lot of stock of hats, and if somebody wants a hat, there's a great chance that you have it. You guys carry 10X all the way up to 1,000X,
all
right?
the way to 1,000.
All the way to 1,000.
Yeah.
And
but like what we were talking about just a minute ago, people saying that does Best get special treatment or anything because of the relationship there,
right?
And they don't really at all, because right now I'm up until last week, I've been for over a month, I've been out of 10X hats in almost every color.
Really?
And so we've been struggling in that 10X market and 40X.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, really low on that, And so, it is. We've been doing good because, teaching a customer about a hat and going through the process of why it costs $1,000. A lot of times we can move someone that would coming in for a 40X to that 100X line or the next step up, you know? Yeah.
And we talk about that a lot. This is something that we've been kind of trying to educate people on over the years. I see a 7 and 10X as a dress hat, something that you're gonna wear maybe once a month or once a weekend or something like that. And when you go up the scale, I personally think a 40X is the entry level hat for somebody who wears a hat every day.
You're getting, when you get to a 40X, I mean, that's for sure. You're getting into the, getting started into the lifelong hat, you know, and it will be a lifelong hat for a lot of people.
Right.
You know, and maybe even some people a 10X, you know. I tell people all the time too, because I mean, just face it, you know, a 10X hat's $500. That's not cheap.
No. It's not at all.
You know, and that's our entry level.
Yeah.
You know, so I explained to them too that, you know, that's entry level here at Best Hat Store. That might be mid to upper range at some other stores that stop at a 40X.
Yeah.
You know,
there's a lot of places who don't even carry 40X. They carry 7 and 10, and that's it.
Right. Yeah. And they don't. So it's a little different deal, you know, when you're there.
Yeah.
You know, but even if you get a 10X hat from American Hat Company, it's a good hat.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to last you.
Yeah.
You know,
the only thing I see with a 10X versus the 40X is maybe a little bit better feel on the 40X, but the 40X holds its shape better, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So if you're gonna beat that hat up and you're gonna wear it every day, you may have to touch up the 10X a little bit more often than you would a 40X.
Yeah.
You know, you get into 500X, and I've got 500X that I haven't had to touch in 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, they just hold their shape better.
And that's what I tell people that same thing too, is when you're they're like, I just need a cheap work hat. I just need a 10X. I'm like, what? You know, you bought a 10X hat last year,
right,
for $500.
Connor says the same thing.
You know?
Absolutely.
And now you're buying another 10X hat this year for $500. You could have bought $1,000 hat and had it for 4 years. You know,
then you get renovation.
Is really cheaper.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
Or 500. You know, and you'll have it for 10 years.
Okay.
You know, or
more.
longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it might be dirty and nasty and all the cowboy stuff on it. You know, but the hat will still be there.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're all going to get the same kind of dirty, no matter what quality. You know, the dirty is there.
Some hide it a little bit better, right?
Yeah, I mean, some colors maybe.
Yeah.
You know, but I think as far as one getting dirty, that's all the same. It's just the hat's going to stay with you, and the other one is you're going to buy a new one every year if you're working in it.
I 100% agree with you, and this is something we've preached for a while. Lorena has a question.
Yes, and I was just thinking about Jerry Gazelle when you guys were talking about the hats getting dirty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Danny shaped Jerry's hats.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So people ask, how long has the Best Hat Store been open?
It opened in 1996.
Okay.
So how many years is that?
28.
28 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the busiest time of year for the store?
Black Friday? I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Saturdays.
Every Saturday?
Yeah. Anymore with the influx of people coming to visit the Fort Worth Stockyards, it's just from Thursday through Saturday, we stay pretty hooked up.
Yeah.
All year long.
Connor and I were in the Stockyards. What was it, last weekend?
Last Saturday, correct.
And I never go to the Stockyards on a Saturday or a Sunday because
for good reason.
I'm here. I'm local. I don't have to, right? I can go down there on a Tuesday afternoon, and it doesn't affect me at all. I can get parking easily. I have no wait. I don't bother you guys when I come in there. And seeing that on a Saturday was ridiculous.
It's insane.
It is.
It's amazing. I say it's insane or ridiculous, but it's amazing.
Yes.
It's awesome. It's awesome for Fort Worth, for the businesses.
Yeah, and that's not a bunch of local people. Some of it is, right? But it's a lot of tourists.
A lot of yeah, you know, or people that are here visiting family.
Yeah.
And everything. It's
you can't,
you know, and even, you know, we get our tourist clientele has grown tremendously at Best Hat Store. but we still have even on Saturdays is a huge core market because there's a horse something or another at Will Rogers every week.
Every week.
And so they're coming over and getting hats. There's, people coming into rodeo at Cowtown Coliseum. Those guys are coming in and getting hats, and it's something all the time.
Yeah.
Concerts at Billy Bob's, they want to come get a hat, best hat before they go.
We've seen it,
and it's hat people.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Not just tourists that's never had a hat. We still it's still they're hat people.
Yeah. Well, you see both, right? Because we were there and we saw, for sure tourists who just got a hat. But, of course, if somebody's coming into town and they've got a big show they want to go to, why not stop at Best Hat or any place else and get a new hat?
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. But American has done a lot in the stockyards over the last few years.
Yeah, for sure.
So at the Coliseum, they're in the Coliseum, they're in the stockyards. There's some new stuff coming with them, and I'll let Keith Mundy talk about it unless you guys already know.
No, I mean, he can tell more about it for sure, but they're the official hat of the stockyards now. So.
And that's huge, right?
And I thought they were to begin with, but now it's official. Yeah.
It was just an unspoken rule.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to go down there and see, the American brand everywhere. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And that, I when I say like that was official hat of the stockyards, I mean that all the way from my childhood. But we wore American Bangor hats every summer.
Okay.
American's not nothing. It was nothing new to me when I started working for Best or with American. It was that's the hat we always.
So you've been wearing
growing up.
American for a long time.
All my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And how was...
I'm not going to say I haven't had other brands.
Right.
We always had American straw hats for sure growing up.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And how was that? How has it been to see the progression from American over the years?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's they're building the best hat. Really.
I think so.
That's all we carry. I mean, we could carry other brands, and when I started there, we did. We had Larry Mahan, we had some Resistols, we had Stetsons, and it got to where no one coming into the Best Hat store wanted those hats. They wanted an American hat, so we had to start phasing that stuff out.
And that kind of brought me to a question that I had thought about, and I wondered what kind of a challenge that posed to Best Hat only carrying American hat. It clearly can't pose much of a challenge because you guys are one of the top 5 sellers of American hats. You probably sell more American hats than anybody in the country, and you may sell more hats total than a lot of probably
most
99% of
sure.
The hat sellers. So have you seen over the years anybody come in and ask for other hats, or do you see any challenges in that?
No, not the only challenge that you have is when is for production at American Hat to keep up with us and Joby's and Cavender's and every other store that carries American Hat, right? So I don't have we're like Joby's can carry Rodeo King, American.
Yes.
We have it down. It was just one vendor.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, it wouldn't help. Even if I had those other hats in there, they're not coming there to look for that. So they're not buying that.
That's true. And that's because you guys have built that over time.
Right.
Emilio down at Double R, he used to carry, pretty much strictly American.
Right.
And, I think American appreciates that.
Sure.
You guys, as well as Emilio, always have hats, or have something, right?
Right.
And so I think, they can appreciate that. You guys are, they know, hey, these guys are selling our brand and, that's all they're selling. So we got to we got to help that out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I didn't have that conversation. I might be wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think any manufacturer will be like that with any of their vendors.
I think so too.
Yeah. So,
Joby's Hat does a great job selling other brands, and in the area, you guys have a relationship. You guys have shared hats before, right? If you
I'll
don't
call
have
them. I mean, matter of fact, we had 3 guys in the store on, on Thursday or Friday. I think it was Friday, that wanted Belgian belly grizzlies.
Okay.
Right. And I didn't have any.
Right.
And the factory's low on bodies, so I told them to, y'all might call over at Joby's and see if they got them.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they have them, and they went over there and picked them up. So
Thank
that's
God
good.
it wasn't.
And I like that. That's the way it needs to be.
I mean, I'm constantly going back and forth with Jesse and Jace.
Well, you called me on Monday.
Yeah, I was looking for a mink, a black
1000X,
mink,
yeah.
and a 7 1/8 or a quarter, and we didn't have one in stock. I checked the other store, we didn't have one. So I called Jesse.
Yeah.
Said, hey, do y'all have it? And he said, I'll find out when I get back to the store.
I actually went over there to get that hat. And
Yeah. That's the way it should be. We should all work together.
Yeah.
It's all part of the same deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, competition's good anyways, right? And
yes.
Healthy competition.
Yeah. It should be.
Look, I think you've got a limited supply of really, really good hat shapers, right? So, and I find Best Hat, everybody who's done a hat with me at Best Hat so far has been top tier, right?
Right.
They are the best of the best hat shapers. Otherwise, we wouldn't put videos out with them, right?
Right.
Joby is a top tier hat shaper.
Sure.
Right. Emilio is,
top.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I only go and tell these guys where you can go to get your hat shaped, at that level.
That's right.
So, there's just not a lot of them.
There's not a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something Conor and I have been working on. We want,
And it's easy to have that, here in Texas, around San Antonio, Austin, where Emilio's at, and Elgin, and then Fort Worth. I mean, it's the hub of Western wear.
We're
right?
spoiled. I mean,
And so, the stores are able to fulfill that need, right?
absolutely.
Right, and pay those guys,
Yes.
right, to where maybe in the Northeast, it's going to be a little harder.
100% it's harder. Yeah.
To be a hat shaper up there, just because of the demand.
Well, I don't think you can even have a hat store up there. It has to be a Western store, right?
Right.
I don't think you could do a Best Hats.
That'd be hard.
Or a double R hat house, or a strictly hat store in Houston. I don't think you could do that in, say, Indiana,
Right.
You'd have to create your own
Pennsylvania.
market.
Well, I mean, even if you did,
You're still
could
got a
use
long
the-
road.
right?
I mean, I don't think the market's just not. They do sell hats up there.
Yes, they do.
I mean, there's hat wearers up there.
Yeah.
All over the world, all over the country.
Yeah.
There's cowboys everywhere.
Right.
But it's just not, the demand's not the same as it is
No, it's not the same
here.
as it is down here.
Right.
Like
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
we here, in Texas, we wear, a lot of men wear a cowboy hat every day.
Yep.
It's abnormal not to wear one.
Right.
I went to get my wife at the airport. She came back from Mexico on Thursday, and I left the house and I had forgot something. I came back and I left the house again. And I forgot something. I came back and I'm checking everything, and I realized I get to the elevator and I forgot my hat, and I'm like,
Yeah. Well,
so-
Joe, I forget a lot of things from my
Never
house.
forget
but
the
I
hat.
never forget my cowboy
Never
hat.
forget the hat.
Yeah, that's
I was in a hurry.
I
yeah,
thought you were missing something.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
So
I mean, even when I get home, that's where my keys and my wallet go inside my cowboy hat.
does
You
it
know,
really?
Usually
So
where
it's
I'm
like
at.
That's interesting.
when I get, I mean, that's the hat comes off, my keys and wallet go in
right in the hat.
right in the hat.
Can't leave without them.
I mean,
You know, and-
that's a good point.
It's just everything that I use every day is going to be in one spot.
Right.
You know?
And so do you have a hat that you wear every day? It's your preferred hat.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's a black 500X.
Black 500.
Yeah.
I love the 500. I think it's...
that's a really weird deal because I hated black hats for
me
a
too.
long time.
Me too.
You know, I didn't wear black boots. I didn't wear black hats.
Yeah.
You know?
That's me.
And I started wearing a black hat, and me and my kids were like, what are you doing? You know, like, that's weird. And so, but now, I mean, my favorite, you know, like at the store, my good hat, is either silver sand. That's, as far as the light color, is my favorite.
Yeah.
And then chocolate. But then my one that I just wear every day that, you know, I wear to the barn and everything is a black hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love my silver belly. The silver sand, that's what you're wearing today.
Yeah.
It's an interesting color, especially under this lighting. It's a good looking hat. Don't get me wrong, it's a good looking hat. It's definitely cold compared to a silver belly.
Yeah, for sure. Same thing. I wore silver belly for years.
Yeah.
But I wore tan and brown boots.
Okay.
You know, now I wear a lot of black boots. You know, I mean, I have some other colors too, but mostly I like black. You know,
right.
And the silver sand just kind of flows with that more because it's more of a gray tone instead of the silver belly. Silver belly's gonna be more of a, you know, like coffee creamer color.
Right,
you know?
Absolutely.
A little more tan.
Yeah, and so that's one thing. I'm wearing darker boots and belt today, which I don't usually do. I'm wearing brown. You know, so brown boots, brown belt.
Yeah.
So that's something different for me. I'm not a big fan of black boots, and I'm not a big fan of black hats. I do think, you know, 1000X, 500X black is a fantastic looking hat.
Oh, they're pretty.
It's next level, right? So if you look at a 10X or even a 40X black, it's next level, like you said. So it's a different hat.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think, Connor?
I mean, I have customers regularly coming in. Then these are customers that have anything from a wool hat, a black wool, to, you know, a 7, a 10, a 20, a 40, whatever different qualities they have. And they'll ask, what are you wearing? Oh, I'm just wearing another hat, you know. They'll say, there's something different about what you're wearing. It looks different. I'll say, what do you mean? They say, just the finish looks so different, so much better, and I'll take it off and show them. And it's just a hat to me. I'll tell them, hey, you want to know the difference between I'm wearing?
It's the hat.
It's
the
hat.
Next. You know, you should tell them what you're wearing.
Well, I show them,
it is.
And I'll tell them, you know, the difference between my hat and the one you have. What? I'll take my hat and I'll throw it. I'll go over there.
I never
pick it up,
understand that.
and it's fine.
I'm not throwing my hat.
No. There again,
Unless
to me,
I'm going 90.
To me, it's just a hat. It's my beater. I'm not scared to hurt it because, I mean, it's not gonna hurt it. This hat's taking a cheater pipe for me at this point. I don't think much can hurt it.
Yeah.
So I'll do that, and I'll say, look, here's the difference. This hat does not have a problem with it. Yours, would you feel comfortable doing it? And they'll go, mm-mm.
I don't know. Yours looks a little dented there, Connor.
It probably is. The owner is too, so it's cool. It evens out.
Yeah.
Right. So,
There's going to be some people upset over that.
yes. Yes.
I love it.
Connor lives to rile the audience. How we looking? We got any questions over there?
Yes, they wanted to know if Best Hat carries round ovals.
We do have, we try to carry as many as we can.
Mm-hmm.
The inventory on that right now is pretty low. But we can always order it.
Yeah.
You know, and get it for you. No problem.
And
the order, you know, it varies, you know, but we can get it.
I've noticed
We do carry a lot of round ovals and straws.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We all know how to. I can take a long oval hat and make it round in a felt.
Yes.
You know, you can't take a long oval straw and make it round. You know, it's a whole. It just does not work.
Doesn't work.
Right. So, with a felt hat, that's easy to do. So, we don't carry as many round ovals in the belts, you know, but we try to keep some.
Yeah.
You know, in the core colors, you know, like a 10 and 40X, you know, black, silverbelly, silver sand, pecan, Tuscan, steel, you know, in the 10s and 40s. And then we keep a lot of straw hats and round.
So I've talked to the people in the office at American and Stan, and the general consensus is 40X black is the best selling hat probably of all time.
Sure.
Do you guys see the same thing?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. How about straw?
No. You know, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like a 1011, you know, 7104, 1022.
1011
They're
is
staples. They've been around. Bangora.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
but you know, with the way, you know, the market's been, right, and as popular as hats are, like the best selling hat for a straw hat is the one that we have that fits you. You know, so you come in and asking for a straw hat.
That one fits. I'm taking it.
You know, used to you could come in and go, you know, I want this you know, this style number, this brim size. Okay, yeah, got it right here. Now it's like, well, I have these.
Right.
You know, they're kind of close to that.
Right.
You know, and you can get one of them, or you know.
Speaking of straw models, we were in last week, like we said, and you guys have the new models.
A few. Yeah, not overly loaded.
Not overly. Okay.
And don't ask me the style numbers.
Okay, I want to ask.
Yeah, 'cause I don't know yet.
So we're okay to talk about those now, though.
I don't know. I guess so. We're selling them. So you know.
Where's your hat?
In my closet.
Okay.
But I can go get it. But I have questions about that because they want to know, why are there two colors for a straw cowboy hat? For example, the 1011 versus the 1022.
I don't know why. I can't answer the question why. You know, but a 1011 is going to be a tan and ivory blend, and the 1022 is a wheat.
1011.
You know, is going to be a wheat color.
Right.
You know,
I think it's just a matter of colorway, right? You know, you've got this model and
it's all the same hat.
These colors.
Yeah.
You know, the 10. Throw it at Connor.
And
just throw it at him. Hit him with it. You really couldn't catch that?
I wasn't going to lean forward and knock this over.
And I can't remember the style number right off the top of my head right now. Connor might know. But we also make this, you know,
1030
solid tan.
1030 something, right?
No,
1036 is way gone. That was solid wheat.
Yeah, that was the. It looked like
hat.
a corn tortilla.
Yeah, that was a cool hat. But we have this hat that's solid tan without the ivory in it.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I'm
going to draw a blank on that for a while.
It might be cool.
Yeah, I can't remember the style number off the top of my head either, but it's a cool hat.
Yeah, I mean, I like the 1011. I like the 1022 too, but you know, it's kind of bright.
Yeah, it's just a little more orange.
Yeah.
You know, it's wheat. You know,
Yeah.
I've always been just a solid ivory.
Yeah.
Hat guy.
Man, they're classy, right? You know.
That's just always what I've been drawn to. You know. And I have a Bangora too that I, use for a beater hat.
I got a Bangora. We haven't shaped it yet. We were going to do a JB out of it. And you've done JB's hats, right?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of them. Yeah. Even years before I started working at Best.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've known JB a long time?
A long time. Yeah.
And so what does he wear? So that everybody is clear, because we get this question all the time. It's a Bangora in a 4-inch brim.
4-inch brim.
And it's a minic crown.
Minic, and it's basically a JB brim. It's not named after him either, but
right. But it's wider.
It's a little wider.
Yeah.
You know, it's not really as wide as you think, because he's not.
He's a skinny guy.
He's pretty narrow.
Yeah.
You know, and so but it's basically just a JB brim. Pretty good dip.
A lot of dip. I was going to say.
A lot of dip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions over there?
Yes, but I have a cough attack. I'm sorry, guys. I'm kind of sick. Can you stretch a round oval straw to long oval?
No, that's what I was saying a minute ago. It doesn't really work as well.
Yeah.
You know, you could probably get close going from round to long.
Yeah.
In a straw, you know, but definitely not long to round.
Well, here's something that I found. I have one straw hat that's a Minick. It's a 5100, and I've had it for about 2 years. It's never fit me right, so I don't wear it a lot. I have a really long oval, and it's not.
And with the minute crown, you're not going to get as long.
No,
It's not going to oval out as much. You know, just like if you do if you got a really long oval and you want a cool hand Luke,
Yeah,
it's going to be pretty tough because it just doesn't pull that crown.
Hey, but when we moved here, I stacked all of the straws, and I know you're never supposed to stack the straws, and I'm telling you guys, don't stack the straws.
Stack any.
Yes,
hats.
exactly.
Yeah.
Especially the felts, but don't stack any hats.
Yeah.
But I stacked them over, and it really elongated the oval on that straw.
Right.
And now it fits.
Right.
It fits better than.
It's just like putting it in putting it in a block.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
And I've been to stores before that didn't have, like actual hat blocks.
Right.
You know, and need to do like a telescope crown.
I've done it
where I've grabbed a like a 6 3/4 poly rope and used that to do a.
That's exactly what I've used.
I've never actually tried that.
Poly rope. I've got
To do like a
videos on it.
telescope crown or.
I've got videos on it. Poly rope is perfect for it because it's so stiff.
It's stiff.
And I've shaped felts that way. I've got videos on it.
I mean, the guys at work, they'll use the block like that for doing the CHLs.
I do too.
I still do a CHL by hand, but a lot of the guys at the store will use a block.
That's the way I've always done it. Just do everything by hand.
I'm not as good as these guys, so I still use a block.
I just like my CHL to be a little more oval.
Yeah.
To match the hat.
Than round.
Okay.
You know, but it's just personal.
It's your style.
That's my hat shape. You know, like part of the shaping.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've shaped hats for a lot of famous people. You guys get a lot of famous people in Best too.
Yeah, some.
Who's the most famous person you shaped for?
The most famous person I've shaped a hat for is probably Mike Pence.
Yeah, we talked about this. We talked about this when we did this video.
Vegas. Yeah.
When we did the video on the grenadine for my wife, we talked about you doing the hat for Mike Pence, and I think I said, what was that like? And you said it was very presidential.
It was presidential.
It was the amount of Secret Service there was kind of crazy.
It was crazy.
So many black.
But that would be for sure, and that was in Vegas
2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah, or going on 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was for sure the most famous.
Yeah.
You know. There's a few others, but
right.
but it's cool, the people that we've met and some become friends with, and
right,
stuff like that. It's really cool.
Do you ever get starstruck anymore? Or is it
no,
now?
I started working shaping hats in the stockyards in '94.
Sure.
So there's always been those people coming in and out, and so I always try to never make it a thing, or even talk to them about what they're famous for.
Yeah.
Got to talk to them, if you know what
as
they're
a human being.
Yeah, talk to them like a person, and especially if you know what they're interested in. Like we had Charlie Daniels, and he sat there for probably 2 hours talking about cutting horses.
Nice.
Stuff like that. Ranching, and we didn't talk about how he was a famous fiddle player.
Right. Well, we were talking about this just recently, about, it's just, they're normal people.
They just got a really cool job.
Maybe, right? Maybe.
I remember
maybe it's not cool to them. Maybe it's cool to you.
Right.
It's hard to tell. And I guess I just don't get starstruck.
Yeah.
It's just out here to talk.
Right? But it's still cool that they want to come.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
of course,
Yeah.
to the store, get
Right.
a hat, wear an American. Yeah, that's cool. Anybody who's coming in there,
That's cool.
right?
Yeah.
Because I get questions all the time.
And it doesn't matter. That's the thing. If it's it really is it doesn't matter if it's who it is.
Yeah.
Whoever's coming in there,
They chose that
I
hat.
try to treat them the same way.
Right.
You know.
Because that's a lot of money and they can spend it anywhere, right?
That's
They
right.
chose to spend it at Best Hat. They chose to spend it on an American hat.
That's right. Yeah.
So we really appreciate all of that.
Yeah.
And
and sometimes, like I've had this conversation a lot, with you got to appreciate that kid that's coming in and buying a 10X hat.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes even more than the guy that's coming in and buying a 1000X.
because the guy buying 1,000X got a pocket full of dough and the kid doesn't.
The kid saved up his
He's
whole
worked for it.
everything to just come in and buy that
Yeah.
10X hat or that straw hat.
Straw is even more important because you see the guy who
You can buy a $60 straw hat.
right, and the guy who's spending $200 on or more
Yeah.
on a straw hat, and he comes in there, he's like, "Yeah, this is the one," and he's got
Right.
that smile on his face.
Yeah. It's
That's a thing.
this thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's important. Yeah.
It is, and it's really cool to see. How are we looking over there? You got any questions?
Yes, they want to know, how do the sides of the brim of a CHL compare to a JB?
Do you need me to make Connor read the questions so it doesn't hurt your throat?
I think I'll survive.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Hey, I don't know. I guess a CHL's around, 9 to 10 inches across the front,
Real low
depending on the
sides.
person and the size of the hat,
But the sides here,
I think that can be anything you want it to be.
is that right? Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
It's all a matter of perspective.
you could have a CHL, this wide, and then the sides turned up. I
Okay.
mean, if that's how you want it. Or you can have a CHL with it, just barely turned up. But it's still,
Well, I think
I
Connor.
still think it's a CHL no matter what.
Right.
I think Connor comes from the factory where they say, this is this, and this is this. Don't do it any other way.
That's right. But that's not.
Yeah.
We're custom hat shapers.
That's right.
So it's not the same.
That's great in a production standpoint, but in the real world, I mean,
In the store in front of a customer,
It doesn't
or even
matter.
over the phone, it can be what like
I can
Like-
start with this, but we'll change it up however you want.
They look at the pictures and the descriptions, and even over the phone or even online, they can only pick, JB,
Yeah.
CHL, right?
Right.
But then they'll put in the comment section, I want that CHL or the JB picked up a little higher, or bring the sides down.
Yeah.
Or put some extra dip in it.
Well, there's such a variety of shapes, and everybody calls it different things. How do you guys deal with that in the store when somebody puts a message like that? I want. What were some of the crazy things we've heard, Connor? I want to. It was just recently we heard that. Maybe somebody call in, and I want the Montana, or I want the Bull
Montana,
Rider.
the Alpine.
Yeah, and to me, you just got to talk a little bit. I remember like the old guy that taught me how to shape hats, and Hoyt Fincher, and he would say, I'd hear him tell people, well, I can shape your hat, but I can't read your mind. You got to tell me what you want,
Right.
Yes.
And I would step back and look at that and go, that's not going to work sometimes. Like, you got to do a little mind reading.
Yeah.
You got to figure it out.
To figure out, because not everybody can tell you,
Yes. Yeah.
or their description of it is not the same. I had a customer not too long ago that called and wanted a 200X silver sand, and he said, I want a rancher.
Yeah.
And I want eyelet. So I just ordered that up as a rancher, the American, RC,
Mm-hmm.
and got it, shipped it to him, and that's not what he wanted
Really.
at all.
Really.
I mean, he wanted a cattleman's crown, but he was thinking rancher, just more soft,
Okay.
not a lot of dip and not a lot of high on the sides,
Right.
just kind of old
Old school
rancher,
Gotcha.
So there's always, you know, where you can mess up.
Yeah,
You know what
absolutely.
I mean? But we made it right. You know.
So how does that work? If somebody gets a hat by mail from Best Hat and they don't like it, they can return it. Or
They
how does that
return
work?
it.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It does not do any good for me or for that customer to keep something that they're not happy with.
True enough. And how about in store? If they come in, they get a hat shaped, and this probably doesn't happen very often, but if you can't make it right on site, they don't have to buy it, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often, does
Not
it?
very often. Not very often. Yeah. And I'll use that sometimes as a selling point that if they're kind of on the fence, you know, and I go, hey man, let's just shape it up. If you don't like it, you don't have to buy it.
Right.
You know?
And
they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, 100%. And close to 100% of the time they're walking to the register.
If it doesn't, you set it out and somebody's going to buy it in the next day or two.
Oh
right?
yeah, we'll sell it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
not a problem.
I mean, that's kind of one of those things. And we tell our customers at the hat shaping school, go out there and shape a minic up and put it on, on the shelf.
Yeah.
Either you're going to sell it or you can change it.
Yeah.
But it gets you practice in making that hat.
Yeah.
So, or a cattleman, whatever. What else you got?
They want to know if the Best Hat Store has a Black Friday sale.
Oh, good question.
We do not have a Black Friday sale, right? But we do a deal for Fort Worth and TCU football team, right? During college football season, which Black Friday falls into that.
Okay.
If you wear purple into the store, and it's in store only, right? It's not online or over the phone. It's in store only. If you wear purple on Fridays, then you get 15% off.
Okay. And I knew about that, and we try to tell everybody about that, especially on the American Hat Company Facebook group. But you guys also have military discount?
We do a military discount all the time.
And what is that?
It's 15%.
15%.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right. Lovely.
They want to know if celebrities usually have time to spend at the hat bar watching it get shaped, or if they send someone.
Most of the time it's them there. There's been a couple of times, that they've sent someone else, that we know.
Pick up my hat kind of thing.
And like pick it up for them, but not very often. Most of the time it's them coming in.
Yeah.
They like the experience of it.
Of course.
Of
course. It's, a hat's a personal thing, right?
Right.
It's like getting a haircut. You're not going to send somebody else to get your haircut, right?
That's right. Yeah. That'd be pretty tough. Right. I mean, and there's some that we've done that have never been in the store that we mail.
Okay.
And that's okay too. But yeah.
And you guys do a big business online, right?
Yeah, pretty good.
You guys aren't new at this. If you order a hat from Best Hat, you're gonna get a hat, right? It's gonna be right.
Yeah, and if it, and it's a tough deal, man. Especially in the summertime, with shipping.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They move bad.
Like we shape a hat with heat.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And so it's real hard to get some people to understand that, like, if I'm shipping a hat and it's 115 degrees outside,
absolutely,
traveling across the country, that hat's probably not going to be perfectly.
No.
But you can find where that was at. You're probably going to have to pull it, like.
Yeah.
And there's just you can't help it.
No, of course.
You know what I mean? And it's not nothing like, it's not like it was shaped like crap and sent to you or nothing. It's just, man, in the moving around in that box and the heat they're going to change.
Man, there's a couple things that's going to happen, right? Either the box is going to get completely destroyed and run over it, and the crown is going to be smashed and the brim's going to be out of whack, or the brim's going to be just out of whack a little bit, right?
Yes.
And in that case, this is the problem. You can't take it locally. Somebody
that's the hard part, man. They just
in Michigan
right.
Sometimes in Michigan you can, but Pennsylvania maybe you can't, or
Right. They don't have access to the shapers.
Right.
Otherwise, they would have just went to them to get them in the first place.
That's
exactly.
Right. But it's a hard thing. We do our best to still try to take care of it.
Yeah.
If you want to we'll send you a return label. You can mail it back to us. We'll touch it up again and mail it out. But
Oh, that's cool.
you know, I can't promise you at the same time that the same thing's not gonna
Right.
that it's not gonna move a little bit.
Now, this
So-
is just a random question I have from a shipping standpoint. When y'all ship the felts, do you put them back in the bags or no?
I do not. I
don't?
will lay the bag out,
Mm-hmm.
right, and
To
put
protect
the
the
crown
crown up
will be
here.
in the bag,
Right.
but I don't put the bag over the
Over the brim.
felt.
So that's
I
where we
leave
do
it
that
open
same
to
thing.
breathe.
Right.
We
Yeah,
have to
I've
do that.
always told customers, anytime you shape a felt, you don't put it back in the bag for a while, maybe a week, because you don't want to.
I don't know about a week, but a little bit.
I usually
know,
do
you
it
want
an
it
hour or
dry.
two.
You know,
I'd rather err on the side of caution. Don't
Sure.
put it in there for a week.
yeah, it needs to dry. It needs
Yeah.
to air out. You know, but yeah, I usually just I'll lay that bag out nice and neat and
Yeah.
lay the crown. It'll be inside the bag, but the brim it's not closed up inside of there.
That's what we try to do, that same thing, just to alleviate some of it from
Yeah.
moving if we can.
Right.
But I mean, like you say, if it's 100 degrees outside, it's going in a metal box of a truck
Yeah.
that's 140.
Yes.
It's gonna move.
It's going to move. It's part of it.
Yeah.
How are we looking over there? I see you furiously typing into the chat.
Well, they want to know. This is actually interesting. What's the most hats one person bought at one time?
Oh,
That is interesting.
I don't know. At one time, I don't. I'm not really sure what that note. I mean, I've had guys, buy 8 groomsmen, all 1000X black hats.
Okay.
So that's a lot.
That is a lot. 8,000 X hats. That's. I mean, I can't even do the math on
It's
that, right?
24,000.
It's a lot.
24,000. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, and then we have a guy that comes and sees Jesse every year at NFR, and he'll have a stack of 6 or 7 hats.
Okay.
That's it's usually something like that. 10 or so. Like if
Okay.
it's a wedding party or something.
I mean, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
10.
I mean, most normal people aren't going to buy multiple hats for themselves at one time,
Right.
especially at the
Well,
price point
unless-
they are.
I mean, we do
Unless-
have customers that come in, every couple of months and buy another color.
Right.
Right. They
You
come
know,
back
or
to buy
a
them. They don't
different-
buy them all at
you know,
once.
And some guys they like different shapes.
Yeah.
So they'll
Okay.
they'll maybe buy a silver belly in this with this shape, and then buy another silver belly with
Right.
this other shape.
Okay.
I'm not that guy.
I mean-
Everything for me has to be the same.
Yeah.
I can't wear different shapes, but a lot of guys, there's a lot of people out there that wear different shapes.
I try to keep it uniform, but also we've done so many hats. It's interesting to change it up a little bit every once in a while.
Yeah.
I think the only thing is I've done that 10-11 there, and I have the Minic, and that's about it. Everything else is pretty much normal.
Everything I have is the same, except for I have a little snap brim open road
Okay.
hat that I wear it
Okay.
often.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I wore it just Friday night. So, yeah. And it's
Well,
a cool hat.
Well, is it American or is it?
Yeah, it's American. Oh, well, yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's a 100X silver belly with a 3-inch brim with a, little bound edge with a snap brim. Pulled down in the front.
All right. Pretty
Same
cool.
crown shape, though.
With the
With a mule kick and
Mule kick.
yeah, or Fort Worth crease is
Fort
what
Worth
I like
crease.
to call it.
So that's a good question. The Fort Worth crease, mule kick front and back cattleman, right? Is
yeah,
that-
basically,
right.
yeah,
And then then you would have, if you just did a mule kick in the front, it's just a cattleman with a mule kick.
right.
And what about the brim for a Fort Worth? Is there anything that's kind of a standard?
No,
Yeah.
most of them, back in the 30s and 40s, it was all pretty short brim.
Yeah.
Like open road style hat.
Yeah.
Or maybe a little. Some of them would roll it up pretty good.
Yeah.
But they were all pretty short brim.
And we've seen that change because we were talking to a lot of people. We were at Frost Ranch and we were talking about Lane Frost's hat, which was a Bangora, and I think it was a 4-inch brim.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were talking to Robin about JB Mauney wearing a 4-inch brim, and then kind of the progression of the 4 1/4, 4 1/2. And, how have you seen that kind of progress?
Hey, man, I remember in 95, 96, I got a 4 1/4-inch brim hat, and I was still cutting a lot of hats down for, like, if you were in your late 40s, over 50, they were wearing 3 3/4 inch.
Is that right?
So a 4 1/4-inch brim hat was
For the kids?
huge.
Yeah.
That's a big hat. And, but I had one then, and, I don't know what changed it. Keith Maddox was a huge part of making I think he was the key staple to making the 4 1/4-inch brim standard.
Interesting.
Where, it's always been smaller, or, 4 was the standard forever.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. It was, and still, there are still people wearing 4-inch brims.
Sure.
It's still a common.
We sell a lot of them.
Yeah.
And we probably sell a lot of 4-inch brim straw hats because we're probably the only people that carry them.
That's a good
Right.
point. That's a good point.
But
Yeah.
I carry them because I sell them.
So let me ask you this: do you guys carry the 4-inch straws, or do you just cut them down from 4
You can't cut a straw.
I'm sorry, I meant on the
A
felt.
felt,
On
yeah.
the felt.
Well, yeah, 4 1/4. Mostly I carry 4 1/4 or 5.
Okay.
And then if you want a 4 1/2, I'm probably going to cut a 5 down.
Okay.
If you want a 4-inch brim, I'm going to cut a 4 1/4.
I know at Cavender's they would buy all 4 1/2 and they would cut them.
Yeah.
So I was curious as how that kind of worked for you guys.
Yeah, we do the same thing. Yeah. There's not enough room to carry
Every different
Everything?
brim.
every brim size.
No.
There's no way.
But you guys still do custom orders, right? So you if somebody wants a hat specific to them and they want their name in it, you guys can order
We
that
do all
from
that.
American.
Yeah.
How long does it take to get one of those?
I wish I could tell you.
Yeah?
Yeah. It varies,
Right.
I could tell you 6 to 8 weeks, and then it takes
12 and somebody's
12 or
mad.
15. Someone's mad, you
Right.
know. I just,
That's always how it goes.
Used to, I could tell you, these days it's kind of, if it's depending on what's going on in production and how much, what do we have the body, or,
Just one of those, it'll be here when it gets here and not a minute sooner.
Yeah, same thing with the renovate, is.
Oh, yeah. So you guys can do the renovation too. So if somebody needs their hat renovated, you got a 40X and above and you need it renovated.
We'll send it off. Yeah.
All right. How are we looking over there? Anything?
What country stars hat have you replicated the most?
George Strait.
Yep.
George Strait.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Which is, Cattleman J. Brim.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah. And
it's quite common.
For sure.
It's quite common. He sells a ton of hats. That guy has sold some hats, right?
It's the
and we
cowboy
do
hat.
a lot of, Cody Johnson shape, too. But
okay.
Even though a lot of people ask for that shape, but we're 100% George Strait.
All right.
Yeah.
That's
and it's been that way since I started shaping hats 30 years ago. It was like, what shape you want? Like George Strait.
I mean, I don't think there's anybody sold more hats than George Strait.
No way.
it's
jeans, boots, everything.
Yes.
It's iconic. I mean, he's had that look for years and it hadn't changed
King
a bit.
George. I mean, they don't call him the king for nothing.
Right.
Right.
They want to know what boots you're all wearing.
So I'm wearing Fenolios. These are Carpincho. And Connor has got a brand new pair of boots on. He just got those from Fenolio. Tell him about those because we're doing a weekly checkup, right? So we're going to see how long it takes you to destroy these boots.
I believe these are the bull shoulder, correct?
Bull shoulder.
Bull shoulder with the ranch tough soles.
Yep. And they said
that should last you a pretty couple of years.
I hope so.
I mean, you might have to put new heel caps on.
Well,
that wears out.
That's to be expected, but I've never had a pair of boots that'll last me longer than about 6 months at best.
Yeah.
You should get more than that out of that especially with that ranch stuff. So
I hope so. We're gonna test it.
So that's
and Danny's not wearing any cowboy boots today. I
Not
wear
today.
cowboy boots. When I do wear boots, all I wear is Finolio.
And so we were there doing a podcast on Thursday, and Wednesday, thank you. And you were in there, and you were asking about a pair of boots, and I was curious. Do you have a custom pair coming, or?
Hey, we're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't let the cat out of the bag on that one yet.
All right.
I just ain't ordered them yet.
Oh,
I'm still thinking about exactly what I want.
Oh,
you know.
all right.
But yeah, that's all I've worn for the past 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
You know,
My
son works for them off and on.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Stuff like that. You know, so they're close friends.
And your son's a bull rider?
Bull rider.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or get her on her.
Get her on her.
Yeah.
I love Finolios. I started. I love American-made boots, and so
Right.
I went from Lucchese, and Cody Bates turned me on to Finolio, and I thought, for the value, that you can't beat them.
Yeah, I don't think you can either.
No.
And but I also think it's it's two different boots.
Yes,
Lucchese,
it is.
Finolio,
It is.
right? I think
agree.
Lucchese makes a great Western boot.
Yes, these are.
Finolio makes a cowboy boot.
That's right, and they're comfortable, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like Lucchese isn't always comfortable.
I don't know.
They're
You're not
not.
going to pigeonhole me into that.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
they're not. But I've really loved the Finolios that I've had over the years, and I've got probably 5 pair, and Lorraine's got at least 2.
Yeah.
And we really like them, and we got Conor in some, and hopefully we can get him on the Finolio train too.
I mean, as long as they hold up, I'll happily buy more.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, I think it'll be good.
Yep. How we looking?
They want to know about your boot collection, Danny. Do you have a boot collection?
I have probably more boots than I have hats.
Oh, Lord.
Wow.
Yeah,
It happens.
It's a problem. That is
It's
Wow.
a problem.
that is my addiction is cowboy boots for sure.
It's a problem.
I probably have, I don't know, 15 to 20 pair.
All right.
Yeah.
What's your favorite pair that you have? What kind of skin is it?
My favorite ones are probably, I have some Nile,
Okay.
black Nile
Yeah.
from Finolio
All right.
with a short peewee. I don't know. Back in the 50s, that's what they called them. Acme made a short top boot. They called it a peewee.
All
So
right.
it's got a short top,
Mhm.
like a real short top. It's like a peewee top.
Okay.
And that's probably my favorite pair.
Like 8-inch or something.
Yeah, maybe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after that, I have a lot of rough outs, but I like when I order a rough out, I like doing a smooth ostrich
Yes.
rough out instead of just a
I like the ostrich rough out.
yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen the smooth ostrich rough out, but I like the ostrich rough
Yeah.
out. And I love the Finolio rough outs because there's a lot less maintenance to them. I mean, that's
it's
my
just
every
great.
day.
But ostrich, I just think ostrich is probably the best thing you can wear on your foot.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's comfortable.
Yeah.
I can wear it as a cowboy boot. I can wear it as a dress boot.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I agree 100% on the ostrich. It's a good looking boot, and yeah, I mean, it's a great
Yeah.
boot. I personally, I like calfskin. I just think it's comfortable,
Right.
but I do like the ostrich.
Yeah. I've always been an ostrich guy.
Yeah.
And not much of a full quill guy.
Yeah. I'm the opposite. I'm not a big fan of the smooth ostrich. I like the full quill.
Yeah.
But that's why they make different boots, right?
That's
'Cause
right.
There's
Yeah.
different people, and that's why they make different hats, right? 'Cause
Exactly.
everybody likes something different.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Well, they want to know. Well, Ty says, I like your mustache. It reminds me of Wyatt Earp's mustache. They kind of want to know how you keep it,
It's just a lot of, training, I had to train it.
Yeah.
It's gotten easier over the years, but, I still got to maintain it. I just can't wake up in the morning and run out the house, because one side will be up by my eyeball and the other side will be.
How long does it take you to get it there?
10 minutes.
That's not too bad.
Not
That's
too bad. Maybe less.
I can imagine. I can imagine if you needed to run down to the grocery store and it's just hanging down. I didn't even think about it until you mentioned that, right? I didn't think about like, if I want to go somewhere, if I got to go down to the grocery, I can throw a hat on. I don't even have to comb my hair, right? I can just go.
Go. But this thing is, it's gotta. You can't just leave. I mean, I could, I guess, but I can't. I just can't leave the house. It'll be all looking ridiculous.
And I got one more question.
Yeah.
Do you ride horses?
I do.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Off camera.
We have a few.
A couple.
Yeah.
So what are your horses for? Are they working horses? Are they show
I have
horses?
a couple. Yeah, just that you can ride and whatever.
Okay.
And then my girlfriend runs a rescue, so we have a bunch of wild horses.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right now.
All right.
That she's rescued off of Alpine.
Okay.
Out of Arizona. So we're doing that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
I know she is.
We can talk more about that later.
She's an animal lover. She wants to come over and pet the crap out of them.
Yes, please.
I mean,
Pet all the horses. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. You got anything else? We're gonna wrap it up here in just a minute. I don't know what that was.
I don't either.
New noise.
Do you know the origin of the logo at Best Hat Store?
Oh,
the one with the cowboy hat
too. Yeah.
I don't really know that.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll dig into that and we'll get an answer for you on the logo. Maybe somebody knows.
Somebody probably knows.
All right. We'll dig into that and get you hooked up. Danny, thank you for coming out. We really appreciate it. We definitely want to get you back here and figure out something about doing maybe my black hat. Maybe sit up here at the bar, have a drink, and do my hat.
Let's do it.
All right. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Be awesome.
Hey, Conor, thank you for being here and for supporting the whole thing.
I mean, it's kind of a habit, as you said.
All right, guys. Hey, we really appreciate you guys stopping in and asking questions. And
thanks for having me, Joe.
I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely. We really, anytime. You're welcome anytime, Danny. It's been a long time coming, and we're glad to have you in here. And we hope to do some more stuff with you.
Perfect.
We'll see you guys next week. We'll be back here Sunday, 8:30 p.m. Central, and we got Vegas coming up. So keep an eye out for that. Lots of stuff coming. Thanks a lot, bud.
Thanks, sir.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
See y'all later.
See ya.
I do know